even the Chukei Torah to teach the secrets of the Torah at such a great scale. Right? There were prohibitions. If you look in the Rambam, you look in the codes of the Torah, already coming from the Mishnah, the Gemara, there are prohibitions about learning Kabbalah. Right? Many of you maybe know. And the Alter Rebbe was breaking these prohibitions in trying to attempt what he was doing. So therefore, it's not so simple that those prohibitions are eternal and set in stone for the ages. Maybe you could say they were meant to be broken, but to take it upon yourself, the mantle of authority, and say, I'm going to be the one that breaks them. So there was a whole conversation in heaven trying to hold him back from doing this. And therefore, he was arrested. Right? And down here physically, he was stopped from his mission of what he was trying to do. And that's, as it's known, the whole arrest and the whole redemption was really a conversation that was going on in heaven, whether or not to let these teachings out or not. So he was held up. And therefore the release was the agreement from above. And that's what he says going forward. Kasher haya pasak din lamayla, when there was a decision, a ruling above, lafitz razei Torah, that it was in fact permissible to spread the Torah. What was the heter, by the way? I'll throw it out to you guys. What suddenly allowed the angelic realms to permit it? What's that? I'm sorry? That's good. That's a good wrong answer. That's a great one because you kind of set me up for what I was trying to say. Thank you. But Ariel said the wrong answer, which is that it's pikuach nefesh. What does pikuach nefesh mean? To save a life. Why is it to save a life? Like the mashal of the crown prince, right? The crown of the king to save the prince. Everyone knows it. I don't have to say it again. To crush the jewel, the crown jewel. So a little bit we'll get into the son's mouth. Okay, so it's definitely worth saying over this a little bit, even for one guy. But in the time of the Magid, there was a chassid named Pinchas Koretz, right? And he was also a big chassid of the Magid, tremendous tzaddik, and he saw a piece of Hasidic parchment rolling onto the floor in a place it didn't belong. It doesn't say exactly what was happening over there. It was not a good situation. And right away in his mind, he made an accusation against the Magid. I don't know if it was intentionally or by accident, just because he was such a tzaddik, his thoughts were poel, that the Magid's life was put immediately in jeopardy. He was going to basically die because he was the one that was responsible for spreading Chassissdis, so to speak, so much that it was rolling onto the floor in bad places. The Alter Rebbe immediately, I don't know if he said it out loud, I'm sure he did at some point, said the mashal that this is likened to a king whose son, the prince, is on his deathbed, and they searched the whole kingdom in order to find a cure. And finally, at the end, when he was about to die, one of the doctors came in and said, the cure is if we take the crown jewel of the king and crush it, right, and mix it with water, and if a drop of that solution will get into the prince's mouth, he'll live. So the king, of course, says, do it. What's the purpose of a kingdom without a continuation, without the prince? And so this is the mashal for saving the life of the Magid. Why? Because the crown jewel is Chassissdis. And if the prince, which is the Jewish people, is going to die, it's worth it to break it and crush it and throw it on the floor if you have to. And even if all of it gets wasted, only a drop goes into the prince's mouth, it's worth it. So with that, he saved the life of the Magid, and Chassissdis was enabled to go on one more generation. But that was the generation which preceded the Alter Rebbe. He is put in jail a second time, right? Because this is the Alter Rebbe is now in imprisonment. He's the next generation. So if we already used the heter of pikuach nefesh, that's what I say. It's a great right answer, but there's a further answer. If you already used the heter, he himself was responsible for using the heter of pikuach nefesh for his teacher, the Magid. This is from a sikha from the Rebbe. It's a beautiful sikha. I was going to learn with you, but maybe we'll just do it now. So, why is it that he himself was unsure if he should go on and spread Chassissdis, and he himself was re-imprisoned? Seemingly, the heter was already given by him himself to go forward. So why was he imprisoned? There must have been some other heter he was using, some other grounds he was pushing. Does everyone follow what I'm asking here? Yeah. So as it turns out, he was trying to bring Chassissdis into a whole nother realm of expansion. What the Magid and the Baal Shem Tov were up to, they in fact did have a heter to learn Torah of Chassissdis at that level, and they were doing it. The Alter Rebbe was pushing the envelope much, much further, because he was going to now bring into the realm of Chabad Chassissdis, which brings Chassissdis into an ofen of Havana and Hasaga to fully grasp the teachings. With the Magid and the Baal Shem Tov, if you've ever read their works, They're not a lot of them, first of all. It's like just two or three books. Okay, that itself tells you, compared to what the thousands upon thousands of pages of Chassidus of Chabad. So it was not brought out in a way that was fully graspable and understandable. It was like showing you and then taking it away, showing you enough to save a life. It was basically showing you this wondrous level of truth of the Torah and giving people emunah. But it wasn't sufficient to grab onto and hold and sit here for hours and hours every single day and have classes on it. There just wasn't enough material there, right? So the Alter Rebbe was intending to make Chabad Chassidus, which we know what it is. So therefore they say, hold up, buddy, we gave you a heter for one level of Chassidus, but now what do you think you're doing? You need a different heter. Pikuach nefesh is not enough, because we already gave you the heter for Pikuach Nefesh, and they're going to live. The prince is going to live already.
This is not a drop.
Right? This is not a drop also, right? It's not a drop. That's exactly what the Rabbi says in the Sikha, right? That was a heter for a drop. This is the whole crown. So what was the heter? I put it back on you guys. What heter was he then allowed to use in order to continue his march? And this is a big one. This is a big punchline here. Anybody knows?
Because he already did it. He already published the Tanya.
That's true by this time, but that itself was under scrutiny, whether it was going to be able to go forward, and even the Tanya. That's why he was put in prison, because he started it. They said, hold it. No, but this is a very, very powerful answer. I want you to know that this should be like a life-changing, literally, life reframing of the whole understanding of Yiddishkeit. His heter was that there is destined to be a time while we're still in Gullus when we enter into an era of Geula, which is a preparation time for the Geula. In other words, you can't just jump into the Geula. You have to be fully prepared for the Geula, right? It has to come through a sort of natural means where you do something which is Geula-like before you get to the Geula. And therefore, since in the times of the Geula, where all the people are going to be Chachamim Gedolim, and they're going to be knowing the secrets of Hashem, and everyone's going to be completely wise from the secrets of Torah. It'll be on every street corner. So before the Geula happens, we already have to have a taste of that. And that taste of that begins a new era in history, right? You have, for example, before the flood, you have before Matan Torah. There's powerful delineations in time which change the whole nature of the earth. Yud Tet Kislev, right? This is why we're so excited about it, where we're just going to sit here for a month and talk about it and celebrate it. It's because what we're really celebrating is not a day in the life of an individual who got out of prison. We're celebrating what he pushed the envelope to bring the entire Am Yisrael into the era of Geula. And his release was a heter to learn Chassidus in fitting with the times of what the Geula will require. So from that day forward, we're already celebrating Mamish, the Geula Shlema. And this is why it's called Chag HaChagim. It's the holiday of all holidays. It's completely game changer in every way. So this was his heter, right? And yeah, it is really a game changer in all of our lives, because we have to realize, first of all, we're in a different period of history, and we also have to understand what are we celebrating. That there's people in the street you're going to find even in Sfas that are not yet totally caught on to celebrating Yud Tet Kislev. I once went into another Chassidish Shtibel, which probably is a pretty famous one around here, and it was Yud Tet Kislev, and I was wearing a kapata, and I came in, I said, Good Yom Tov to everybody, and they said, what Good Yom Tov? They said, okay, it's the Maggid's Yurtzeit. What are you so excited about? These are Chassidim, right? Sort of. And to not understand with such a fundamental level of incomprehension of what's really going on, these are big Talmidei Chachamim also, with all the kavod in their place. To not know, the news, that this is basically... So we have work to do in order to put the message out there and spread the word. How significant this is, not just for a group of people, but for the whole Jewish people as a whole. Anyway, on we go. So the reason for this kitrog was the spreading of Torah to each and every individual in the full gamut. And when the Pesach came out that it was permissible, because what was the heter? Now we know you've entered into the days of preparation for the Geula. That's the heter that he used.
What was the trigger for that? Was this time?
His Mesiras Nefesh of being willing to do it, to put himself in prison. He almost died in prison. There was a moment where he basically was going to die. He was happy about it. He was basically like a Rabbi Akiva. very excited to have gone on total Mesiras Nefesh and died for Hashem. And that's the famous story, when the guard came in and he said, Rabbi, I want to ask you a question. I'm a little bit of a Bible scholar. What's Rashi's Peshat? He said, I know Rashi's Peshat. When Hashem comes to Adam in the garden, he says, Ayeka, where are you? He says, I know what he says, but I want to know what you say. And so he said, when a man will be such and such an age, and he said the exact age of the guard, and he says, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing with your life? Right? And the guard was like, we fumbled from the thing. But the Alter Rebbe, this is the coolest part of the story, he was really, the guard came in to give the Alter Rebbe that message from himself. Because he said, what are you doing with your life? You're going to sit here and die? The whole Torah's Chassissdis is on your shoulders. So he decided to stay alive. Right? He made it like a conscious decision to not die. Because his death would have been like a great pleasure for him. Right? He was looking forward to having such a self-sacrifice like Rabbi Akiva. But he said, no, I have a greater mission to do. So Ayeka, where are you in life? So he stayed alive. Okay, so anyway, not only are we allowed to spread the Torah from that point on, but Adarabba, beyeser seis, beyeser oz, it said, as we said a moment ago, with greater emphasis, with greater strength, much more than it was before the imprisonment. Right? So once that decision was, that Pesach Din was made from above, nisbatul b'meila hadin lamata. So automatically the human courts disappeared. V'yatzid l'cheres, and he was set free. So the moment he read this pasuk, now we can see a little bit of significance. It's not just an accident, he happened to be reading this pasuk. As he was reading this pasuk, he was sort of aligning himself with the Pesach Din above, that Chassissdis is free and Geula's come, or at least the preparations of Geula. So this pasuk takes on an unbelievable significance. Inside of these words is the whole message of what this era stands for. The mizeh muvan, from here it's understood, shetochen akasuv, pada b'shalom nafshi, that the meaning of this verse, my soul redeemed in peace, shaykh le'inyan afatzes Torah Chassissdis. It's certainly connected with the spreading of Chassissdis. V'hine amar Razal. Okay, so let's get from here until the bottom of the page. We're going to get into a few questions, which frankly we're not going to answer for quite some time. So sort of keep it in your pocket. But he says like this. The sages said, right, in the Gemara of Brachas, on the verse, Para b'shalom nafshi mikravli, from this verse, there's a whole drasha, an inner drasha, how they learned out what it means, alpi drush. And it says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem said, Kol ha'osek b'Torah ugmilus chasadim umispal imat tzibor. Anyone who is osek b'Torah, he's learning Torah diligently, he's giving charity, and davening with the minyan, Malani alava keilu padani li ubanai mibein umas ha'olam. I will consider it as if he redeemed me and my children from the nations of the world.
Who's talking?
Yeah,
HaKadosh Baruch was talking. Amar HaKadosh Baruch. Hashem says, right? This is like a drush, right? Like a midrash. So it says on the verse, my soul is redeemed in peace, right? From war, because the many were with me. Somehow they got, and we're going to see how, but they got out of there. That Hashem is considering as though his soul was redeemed and his children.
His soul would mean like his essence?
Hashem was redeemed. In other words, Hashem's also in Gullus. Hashem is also in Gullus. I don't know if his essence, Mistam, is also in. I don't know if the essence can go into Gullus exactly, but whatever can go into Gullus, it's in Gullus. Unfortunately, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news. But he's saying that from here, I was redeemed in peace. Hashem considers as though he and his children were redeemed, but from the merit of occupying in Torah, Gemuz Chasadim, and davening with a minyan. What you got there, Beryl? Something good? Okay.
Isn't that the basements from the Torah also? Redeeming the captive?
Yeah. Where does it say that here? Gemuz Chasadim? That my soul was redeemed.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so he's saying, Al Pizeh, how do we get that information out of the words of the pasuk? Al Pizeh yesh lomer. Accordingly, we could say the nosef al sheiches da afatzes Torah Chassissdis letochen akasuv kamoshu kapshuto. We're going to see how those things come out of the verse in a second. But what we want to learn from here is that just like we're saying that in general this verse is associated with the spreading of Chassissdis, according to the way that the verse reads in the Pashtus, right? Just that my soul was redeemed in peace from war, because the many were with me, that's connected with Chassissdis being spread. So too this drasha is connected with Chassissdis being spread. In other words, that the Hafatzas Torah Chassissdis is connected also with the idea of being occupied in Torah, Glus Chasadim, and davening with a minyan. So also the drasha and all the things that they learned out on a matter of drush also goes into the category of being shaykh to the Hafatzas Hamaynos Chutza, right? Not just the pshat, but also the drush. That's basically what he's saying here. Does everyone understand that? In other words, if you have a verse which is connected with Yud Tet Kislev, not just the simple meaning of the verse is connected with Yud Tet Kislev, but also the allegorical meaning is connected with Yud Tet Kislev. And what's the allegorical meaning? It's going on anyone who occupies themselves in Torah, gives tzedakah, and davens with a minyan. Somehow all those things are also shaykh, since they're in the pasuk, Parah B'Shalom, to the spreading of Chassidus. Clear? Okay. So, let's go into Oz base. Hine, Perush HaPashut B'Kasav Zeh Hu. The simple meaning of this verse, Asher Ki B'Rabim Hayu Imadi, that when it says the many were with me, my soul was redeemed in peace because the many were with me. Hu Nesinas Tam L'Parah B'Shalom Nafshi. It's a reason for why my soul was redeemed in peace. Right? My soul was redeemed in peace. Why? Because the many were with me. That's the simple pshat. That's how he got his redemption, because everybody was on his side. Which means you could have a redemption in a way of war, right? In other words, the many are not with you, because you got to fight for every guy. But the quality of this particular redemption is that it's pada b'shalom. He didn't have to fight, because there was no necessity for war, because the many were with him. He already had them on his side. And what is the reason why suddenly this redemption was in peace as opposed to war? Is because, as I said a moment ago, the many were with me. But we have to understand, what does it really mean, this concept of being redeemed in peace? Right? And what really is the connection to the many being with me, to that leading to a redemption in peace? Okay, we have to understand it deeper. So he says, Hine b'drashas Rizal pasuk zeh. So going back to this drasha that we learned, everyone who's occupied in Torah, Gemulus Chasadim, and davening with a minyan, right? Perush Rashi. So now we're going to find out, how did they learn out from this pasuk this drush? Like, where do we see inside of these words of Parah B'Shalom Nafshi Mikravli Ki B'Rabim Hayu Imadi? Where do we find anything about learning Torah, giving tzedakah, or davening with a minyan? Right? It doesn't seem on the surface of it to be talking about that at all. So here's Rashi's take on the matter. Perush Rashi Torah Diksiv V'Kol Nisivoseh Shalom. Where Torah, it says by Torah all of its pathways are peace. So Parah B'Shalom, my soul was redeemed with Shalom, because Torah is called Shalom. So that was enabling the redemption. Remember, we're saying anyone who learns Torah, does tzedakah, and davens the minyan is considered as though they redeemed me and my children from the nations. So Parah B'Shalom, you redeemed me in peace, i.e. you redeemed me through Torah learning. That makes sense all of a sudden, right? Also, Gemulus Chasadim, Nami Shalom. Guess what? Giving tzedakah is also called peace. He doesn't even say why, but that's the Indian of tzedakah is anyway connected with peace. Might say Shalom. It's an act of peace. So also, if my soul was redeemed in peace, my soul was redeemed by giving tzedakah.
I think it's
Okay. What, the Indian of Shalom? Does it say Shalom in that pasuk? But that's not even Shalom there. There's a whole parak in Tanya about it. Mispal imat tzibur. What about davening with a minyan? Hu inyan ki berabim hayu imadi. So then for that you have to go to the second part of the verse. My soul is redeemed in peace because the many were with me. The many were with me means you're davening with a minyan. So I was redeemed because the many were with me. You were davening in a minyan. So a completely different reading, basically. But that's why it's a drasha on this verse. But ultimately, you see that there's a redemption that comes from Torah, tzedakah, and davening with a minyan. Because the Perush Rashi Sham, as Rashi says, Ki barabim hayu imadi sheispalu imi. And that's what Rashi says, that the men of Absalom were davening with David. They were davening for him. V'hainu shegimel inyanim elu, which means that these three things, Torah, Gemus, Chasadim, and Tefillah b'tzibur, davening, tzedakah, and a minyan, mechalkam lebeis chalukos. If you look at it a little clearly, they're divided into two parts. Torah, Gemus, Chasadim. You have on one side Torah and charity, which is both called Shalom, and on the other side Tefillah b'tzibur, which is called the many were with me. Right? And we have to understand, so these are the questions that we're not going to discuss for a very long time, but try and keep them in your pocket. That we have to understand, why are these three things, these three categories, divided into two sections? One question. Yeah. In content, in the concept of the redemption. The redemption comes because of three things. But two of them are called peace, and one of them is called a minyan. So why are we dividing it up? It needs to be looked into a little bit. That's the minyan, right? And shalom is Torah and Gemus Chasadim. So the redemption comes from shalom and minyan. Why is it broken up? That these three categories that they learned out two are in shalom and one is in ki barabim hayu imadi. We also have to understand gam tzrich lahavin masha amru kola osek. Again, a question for later. It says in the Midrash on this pasuk, anyone who is occupied in Torah, anyone who's occupied in charity, anyone who's davening with a minyan. What is this business about anyone? The way the drasha rolls out is that it's referring to the man who learns Torah, the man who gives tzedakah, the man who davens. It's not talking about Torah. It's not talking about tzedakah. It's not talking about davening themselves. It's giving the credit to the guy who davens, the guy who learns, as opposed to the quality of Torah and charity and davening in their own right. So what's responsible for the redemption? The person doing it, not those things. And that's just a question. And why is it such a question? It's a question he's asking. And why is it a question? Because the normal language, lashon hamurga b'kol makom, what we normally find when we hear these three categories of mitzvah mentioned, which we find in different places, like for example Pirkei Avos, it says Kmo al shlosh devarim ha'olam omed. Right? We find in Pirkei Avos it says three things the world stands on. What are they? On Torah, Avodah, and Gemus Chasadim. Right? The world stands on Torah, those three things. But it doesn't say it doesn't say lo kol ha'osek b'Torah ba'avodah u'gemus Chasadim. It doesn't say the world stands on anyone who participates in Torah.
So the question is, does it depend on someone, or is it?
No, so our midrash is saying that it depends on the guy. The redemption comes from the guy learning, the guy studying, the guy giving tzedakah, the guy davening, right? But it's strange that it puts it on the guy when the normal language throughout the Torah is that the merit is those things, not the person occupied in it. Again, it's a small diuk, but it's something of significance we have to look into.
So how is it redeeming Hashem if it's redeeming the guy? If it's helping the guy?
No, it says over there that Hashem and His children will be redeemed because of three things, right? But it's not because of Torah and davening. It's because of the person who does it, right? Anyone who's doing that, he is considered as though he redeemed. Not that those things are considered as they redeemed.
It seems like just pointing out the question, he's answering the question.
No, because he's wondering why, for example, in Pirkei Avos, it is those three things that the world stands on, and here it's the person. In other words, each one is a question on the other one. They're not saying the same thing, and why?
Okay, that's true. Why is there a difference? Type of thing?
Yeah. But lashon kan hu kol osek. Okay, so I kind of sped a little bit through that, if you notice, because the beginning was very interesting, just talking about Yud Tet Kislev and everything. But those questions I guarantee you, most of you are gonna completely forget those questions because we have a long haul ahead of us to tackle this concept. Because really, from this os for another 10 osios, he just goes into a whole other thing, and finally, it's like as an afterthought, he decides I'm going to answer these questions. That's why I didn't want to take too much time on them. But this mimer, now I can say it's like sort of take a breath of fresh air. There's so many juicy concepts in this mimer. For those of us who were here last year, maybe Da'el, maybe Ephraim, I'm not sure if you caught this mimer with us, certainly Yaron. But we did it last year also. But I'm doing it again because I was reviewing it last night. I would be holding back so much fun, amazing information if we didn't. I'm happy to go another round here. It's just got a lot going on, a lot of foundations. So let's try to tackle one at a time. Starting on Os Gimel. You remember this one?
We have another 99 classes.
Right, exactly. Plus we got 101 at least, so. Os Gimel. Yuvan ze behektim. We'll have to understand this first with a long preface. Right? And that is what we'll be doing for the next 10, 15 days. Ma shekasuv yoducha Hashem kol ma'asecha v'chasidecha yivarachucha. This might start ringing some bells. We say in Ashrei, yoducha Hashem kol ma'asecha, they will acknowledge you, Hashem, all of your works. V'chasidecha yivarachucha. And your chasidim, your righteous ones, will bless you. Remember this one? Ve'isa b'zohar, and it says in the Zohar, the perish yivarachucha, hu yivarchu ko. If you look at the word yivarachucha, you can break it into two. It's any kind of a funny word in its own right, but you can break it almost more easily into two words, which is yivarachu ko. They will bless ko. What's ko? The Rebbe Rashab, which this whole mimer is based on an amazing mimer from the Rebbe Rashab, that from Ayin Beis, he says, which is the classic. He says that in his mimer Divrei Maschil Par B'Shalom Nafshi, here he says Eter, but it's also he brings from in the footnotes also from Ayin Beis, that Ko it represents Malchus. The level of Ko is going on the sphere of Malchus. So Chasidecha Yivarachucha means your Chasidim will bless Malchus. Yivarachu Ko. You get it? But Yivarachu Ko Hu Lamshich Gilei Or Malchus. It simply means they have the ability to draw down light into Malchus, the lowest sphera. V'nemar b'Chasidecha Yivarachucha, and here it says that the Chasidim will bless Ko. That the only ones who have the power to bring such a bracha into Malchus is the Chasidecha, this level called the Chasidim. This, that the Chasidim can do this act, it comes in as a joined and as a continuation of what it says in a moment before in that same verse, Yoducha Hashem kol ma'asecha, which means all of your works will acknowledge you. Right? So the Chasidecha Yivarachucha comes as an extension of Yoducha Hashem kol ma'asecha. And what is that? What is the meaning of that? Ki amshacha b'malchus, because the drawing forth of this light into Malchus, which is accomplished by the Chasidecha, hu mimakom naile ma'od. It comes from a very, very high place, this bracha, which is, as he says, the Or Ein Sof Shelamayla Mishtalshlus. It's a light which is beyond the worlds altogether. The Or Ein Sof above the Ishtalshlus. She'ein Shayach Bo Hasaga Elohoda Bilvad. Where it's not possible to have any hasaga, any grasp on that type of light, because it's beyond the Ishtalshlus. It's preceding even Chochmah, Bina, and Das.
That's
The level of light that they're able to bring into Malchus comes from beyond the Ishtalshlus, from a place where it's beyond comprehension, before it precedes
like the bracha.
Hasaga. And where do we hear that from? Because at that level, grasping is not possible, but rather Hodah alone. Hodah bilvad. What's Hodah? Acknowledgement. You can't know it, but you can just say like it's there. And where do we see that they're getting their bracha from such a high place? Because look at the words that precede the words Chasidecha Yivarachucha, which means the Chasidim will bring it into Ko. It says Yoducha Hashem kol ma'asecha. Yoducha is lashon Hodah. Let me say that again. Yoducha Hashem kol ma'asecha. Right? Yoducha means like Hodah, which means I acknowledge you because I cannot know you. So it says all of your creations.
Acknowledge means I accept you.
I accept you. I acknowledge you But what it means for us right now, the diuk, is that it's something beyond comprehension.
It's above das.
It's above das. That's why all you can do is acknowledge it. You can't know it.
Like the bracha.
No, but wait. Most brachas don't come from such a place, is what we're going to wind up saying.
No, Yitzhak's.
Oh, okay, like Yitzchak's bracha. Very good. Yeah, Yitzchak was definitely a chassid, right? But, okay, absolutely. We've got to stay with the times, 100%. But what we're saying is, the Chassidecha Yiverachucha, which means Chassidim draw light into Malchus. But we're saying they draw it from a very, very high, unusual place. And how do we know what place they draw it from? Because the words right before that says Yoducha, Hashem Kol Masecha. And Yoducha means something which is only acknowledgeable and unknowable. And so right after you hit this level called Yoducha, comes the Chassidecha, and they're able to Yivarachucha. They're able to draw that down into Malchus. That level which is Orein Sof above the Ishtalshalus. That's
We're able to do this by learning Chassidus? Is that what we're saying? Or
that's definitely what we're going to say. I have no problem letting the cat out of the bag on that one right now. But yeah, that's what Kuntrus, that's what the in Yanushal Kuntrus HaChassidis, in Yanushal Torah HaChassidis that I wanted to teach with you guys. It's all about the power, mamish, of what Chassidus does. Yes, without you knowing about it. When we're sitting here at this table every morning, we're doing crazy things to the world. Right? That's what Chassidus is. It comes from a certain place, which is just, that's what their Alter Rebbe fought for. That's what the Rebbeim gave us, was the power to access this level. Not to say that every single one of us can be called, or any of us for that matter, can be called Chassidecha from this pasuk in the strict terminology of what we're going to see that word means. But on some level, we're all Chassidim, right? Because that's what we're dealing with, is Chassidus. Okay. So you got that point. So this is a powerful form of bracha from a place which normal brachas do not come from. Jumping the gun there, Avi. Okay. V'amshacha. Okay. Just v'amshacha misham. The amshacha from there is ba'ofen de bracha. It comes in such a way of bracha, which is the amshacha means to draw down. So that which is drawn down from that place, it comes in a form of bracha, which is the koach of the Chassidecha dafka. The only one who can do it, the only one who can make a bracha come out of that place is someone called Chassidecha. Right? Okay. Bichdei lahavin godla iloi. In order to understand, does everyone fully grasp that now? Moving on. In order to understand the greatness of the hamshacha in an ofen of bracha, of drawing down something from there in a manner of bracha. Let me just say, what does it mean a manner of bracha? Because there's different ways to get things to come down, as we're going to see, and we're going to see in a second. One is called praying, and one is called blessing. So he's saying that, he's going to mention this presently, but just because he says the specialty is that they can bring it down from that level, not by praying, but by blessing. Right? That's the chiddush. Because it seems that maybe a lot of people could bring such a level like that down from praying. But their chiddush, they can bring such a level down by making a blessing. We'll see in a second. To understand though, what's the chiddush of drawing down a level of light down from there in a way of bracha, ma'makam shabo hi ha'odah, from a place where it's only hodah and not hasaga, only acknowledgement and not grasp. Maktim ba'maimer, the Rebbe Rashab first prefaces in the Maimer, hachiluk bein bracha l'tefillah, the difference between davening and benching, right, and blessing. Shebekol echad mehem yesh ma'ila l'gabi zulaso, that each one of these two things has a quality over and above the other one. We touched upon this in a sikha that we learned on Shabbos a few weeks ago. That each one has something the other one doesn't have, in davening and blessing. By Inyan who, and I'll just preempt, someone's going to probably come up with the question, what do you mean? In davening, all we're doing is making blessings. This one answer is 18, 19 blessings. So I think here, what he doesn't, those are not the kind of blessings he's talking about. He's talking about the blessings like you go to a holy man and he gives you a blessing. Right? Like getting a bracha. Right? So what's the difference between davening and blessing? The Indian is, the tefillah, himalamata lamayla. Tefillah is, of course, from below to above. Hainu, which means to say, Shamispalel hu lamata, that the davener is standing on a low level. Umivakesh yashpiu lo milamayla, and he's requesting that you should give him something from upstairs. And the bracha is milamayla mata, whereas a bracha comes from above to below. Meaning what? Not everyone can give a bracha. Okay, you go ahead and try, because every Jew's somehow in some kind of a high place. But there's certain people that can mamish give brachas.
What do you above and below? Like
From above, he's going to say, the mavarech is lamayla mashoresh shemimenu nimshechas habracha. The blesser, the one who's giving the blessing, he's in a very high place. That's what we mean it's from above to below. He's standing on high ground. He's a holy man. And he's above the root from where the blessing is coming from. In other words, there's like a storehouse of blessings.
so you can't.
And he's standing above the storehouse of blessing and just distributing them to the world. That's the Rebbe is just holding out, where all the things that this guy needs a child, this guy needs a refuah shlema, they're all just standing in front of him like he's in the store. And he just takes them off the shelf and he can distribute them because he himself is standing on a level plane which is higher than the blessings.
Not everyone can give a blessing.
You can try, but it doesn't mean everyone's blessings are going to come true, because what makes your blessings able to come out is that you're holding on a high place where you can sort of bring down something which is below you. You can distribute light which is beneath you to the recipient. So yes, not everyone can give a blessing.
Not just any time, but a Kazan can give.
Right, exactly. Get to a certain... People say you should give blessings on your birthday, right? Because your mazel is strong suddenly. The Kohanim and their special blessings, they have a special...
Can you bless yourself?
What's that?
Can you bless yourself?
Bless yourself. Don't hold back.
Oh, it's your birthday. He said birthday.
Oh wow, mazel tov, brother.
Who's
Shnas hatzlacha. It's great.
blessing?
Bless us.
Everyone should get what they need and
And money.
Kashrus Rufi.
Amen. So the blesser is standing in a place which is above the source of the blessing itself. He's above the pool of blessing.
Blessing is higher than the prayer? Or
Well, we're saying each one has something the other one doesn't have. We're just right now explaining that prayer is from below to above, blessing is from above to below. And the blesser is mamshich osam lamay lamata. The blesser, he draws it down from above to below. He's actually giving it's a different direction. V'zeu shebracha hi b'derech tzivoy. And that's why a blessing comes out in a way of commandment, like we just heard from Beryl. You should have everything you need. That's not a request. It's an order, right? When you give a blessing, you're not asking for something. You're ordering something. You should, right? Like you should go get me a cup of water. You're telling someone to do. You're commanding something to happen. That's because you're kevan shamavarech ulamayla mishoresh shemimenu nimshechas habracha. Since the blesser is above the root from where the bracha is coming out from, lechein v'kocho letzavos. He has the power to command it. He's not asking. He's telling. V'zeu shebracha hi dafka b'misha b'kocho levarech. That's why a bracha is only coming out of a person who has the power to bless. Kamo Avram Avinu. Like, for example, we see Avram, Sha'amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ha-brachas nesunos lach. The brachas I'm giving to you. Right? Up until that time, only Hashem could bless. And the chiddush of Avram Avinu is that Hashem gave over the blessings to Avram Avinu, that anyone you want to bless, you bless on your own. You don't need me anymore. I'm giving you the brachas. So by extension of that, by the way, all Yidden are able to give blessings, because we have the blessing from Avram Avinu. V'deloket tefillah, this is not like prayer. Shekol echad yachol lispol. Everyone can pray, right? Not everyone can give blessings. Okay, in a certain sense, we're all Yorshim of Avram Avinu, but we all know our actual place. But when it comes to praying, everyone can pray, and equally, right? In other words, not necessarily your prayers are going to be answered equally, but it's incumbent upon each and every one of you to pray equally. Not necessarily it's incumbent upon everyone to give brachas. Not only can you pray, you're commanded to pray. It's a mitzvah aseh to pray. Right? Not necessarily it's a mitzvah aseh to pray in the form of the Shemona Esrei. The way we pray is from the Midrabanan. But the mitzvah of prayer is Midoraisa. So we see that everyone must pray. Not everyone can give brachas. And that's because in order to bless, the same lesson, third time. The blesser must be above the source from which the blessing is taken. So we can right away understand, we said each one has a maila, tefillah and bracha. We can understand what blessing has over davening. That in tefillah, which is a bakasha, it's really a request, that please give me some light. No one says your prayers are going to be answered. You have to pray, Everyone's equally has to pray. No one says everyone's prayers are going to be answered necessarily.
The bracha also doesn't mean it's going to be answered.
That's not true. That's not. We're going to see in a second. That's not true. When it comes to praying, there's no certainty that you're going to get the hamshacha that you're asking for.
Right, but you could be answered, though. It may not be the answer that you're...
Right, the answer could be no. Okay, all right. That's pretty much like not being answered in some circles. But it's a beautiful approach. In other words, I don't care what he says as long as I can talk to Shem.
It's nice to get an answer. Every time it's not the answer you want. Close is good.
Might be delayed answer.
I mean, it's interesting. They used to say when people were writing to the Rebbe, they didn't get an answer back. You know, the Rebbe would give you many people obviously have letters they got back. Thousands of letters we have, but not everyone got a letter back. So the Chassidim used to say, not getting an answer is also an answer. In other words, he's telling you no.
It is an answer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I always get
Like
answers.
kids, they shrug.
Right. Anyway, so you don't always get answered when it comes to prayer, in the sense that your answers are not fulfilled for the positive. Bracha, which is a way of tzivoy, as we said, bracha, no one's asking anything. He's commanding. Vadai shatum shechashpa. If the Rebbe is going to give a bracha, it's a certainty that it's going to happen, right? Because otherwise he wouldn't give you the bracha. The fact that he's giving you the bracha means he's got it and he's going to give it.
Okay.
So it's a guarantee that the bracha is going to come out. Because the blesser has the power to bless, to command. Whereas, so that's the maila of blessings over davening, right? It's the certainty of it. The maila of tefillah lagabi bracha. But what does davening have over blessing? Who can tell me, maybe?
That it draws from a higher source.
Excellent. Is the hamshacha itself. The hamshacha through tefillah is higher. Right? Why? The inyan habracha hu lamshich ma shekavar nimtza ba'makom. It comes from a higher source, exactly as Wendell just said. The bracha is drawn from ma shekavar nimtza ba'makar. It's already found in a source. In other words, why are you giving a bracha? Because it's already sitting there for the guy, his baby or his good health. It's already come out of the source of Hashem, and that's where the tzaddik can get his hands on it and say, oh, this is actually for you. You just didn't have the koach to bring it down for yourself. But it's already sort of hatched from the source. And that's why it doesn't come from such a high place. It's already come out of a high place, the bracha. Right? V'lo davar chadash, it's not really new. The tzaddik is not able to contrive something which doesn't already exist for this guy in his source. Whereas davening is a bakasha from Hashem, that even if it's not, even if it doesn't have it, chas v'shalom, the hashpa gam ba'makar. In other words, this guy's health is not sitting up there waiting for him. On the contrary, not only is it not sitting there waiting for him, but on the contrary, what's sitting there waiting for him is that it's been decreed that he should be sick. In other words, if you go up into his source of this guy's hishtalshlus, you'll find at the very top of it, what's supposed to come down for him is a sickness, God forbid. Mikol makom, nevertheless, so the tzaddik can't bless him because there's nothing there to hold on to and give him. Nevertheless, tum shachlo hashpa chadasha. With davening, you can give the guy a whole brand new hashpa that never existed before from the Orein Sof itself, shalamaylim hishtalshlus. So what does it come out? The bracha comes from the hishtalshlus. It's already plugged into these hishtalshlus. You're just pulling it down the chains. Whereas the tefillah comes from above these hishtalshlus. You can make a new hishtalshlus.
That's like the biggest difference between like someone praying for children and someone getting a bracha for children.
Exactly. Someone's praying for children. I mean, no, the Rebbe can pray for you. That works well. But if yes, exactly. If you're getting a bracha for children, it means you already sort of have children. You just don't see them yet.
Right.
Whereas praying for children means it's not supposed to be there, and you're making, if your prayers are answered, you're going to make new children from scratch. The Zeu Sha'om, let's just finish the paragraph. Zeu Sha'omrim Bekama Tefilos Yehi Ratzon. And that's why many prayers start with the words, let there be a will. Because you're saying at the present there is no will for the health of the baby. And you're saying, Yehi Ratzon, let there be a will. And it was make up from the Orein Sof a brand new Ratzon. Perush Yehi Ratzon is that there should be a Ratzon Chadash. V'tam al zeh shehamshach or chadash hu ayidei tefillah dafka. Why is it that this new light, which never existed before, comes out specifically through davening? Ki lamaisa yadecha tichsov. Simply because That's what tickles Hashem's fancy. When a Yid down here in this world will daven, nothing makes him happier than something happening milamata lamayla, from below to above. That's why you created the whole world. So when you'll see that you daven, it's like the end is wedged in the beginning. You're all the way down on the bottom, and you're like looking for Hashem in this cold, corrupted world. It acts as his true desire, and for his true desire is a will. So he'll bring a new will. In other words, it's not rational that you can bring something out of the Or Ein Sof. It's just that's the way Hashem set up the system, that based on the lowly entities coming close to Him, He ushers forth a new will. V'lechein al yedei tefillah avodas hamata, therefore through davening, which is the avodah from the tachton, megiyim l'Or Ein Sof shelamayla mishtalshelus. You can reach the Or Ein Sof, which is above the holy shtalshelus, the whole order of the worlds. We'll hold here for today.
Because the one like Tanya yesterday, 2 days ago, Tanya yesterday was the
Kunchus Achron, ask somebody else.
Yeah, it's very good to hear it again, because it sinks in deeper. Sure. It had to be 100,000 times.